good afternoon, viewers. You're watching Republic, and this is Proud to be Indian. I have my colleague Tanisha Avasthi with me, and a very special guest, Arjun Vajpai. We will get you his journey, and we will speak more about how he has contributed to the national pride of India as we celebrate all the achievers of Bharat. Tanisha.
Well, absolutely, Rakshita. It's an honor to have you here today, Arjun, with us. Before we dive into the details of how the journey has been for you, let's quickly have a look at how Arjun's journey has been throughout all this while. Take a look.
Well, in fact, let me just tell you a little bit more about Arjun. He has been literally at the top of the world. Arjun Vajpai is one of those rare individuals who has taken the challenge head-on always and emerged a winner, not just once but 8 times at least. Arjun is a professional mountaineer who scaled his first summit, in fact his first summit at a very young age, and also the Mount Everest at the very small age of 16 in 2010, becoming the youngest person to achieve this incredible feat that time.
Well, absolutely, Rakshita. Now, after Mount Everest, Arjun has been challenging all the highest peaks in the world and conquering them one by one. In his conquest to scale all the 14 peaks above 8,000 meters, Arjun has conquered 8 summits so far. His spirit serves as an inspiring example of adventure and passion, motivating others to set new goals and strive to achieve their dreams. Here's a quick look on his journey so far.
Trekking, a sport that promises excitement but often tests your limits. It's a journey that can leave you questioning your choices. But for Arjun Vajpai, this challenge is a passion. At just 16 years old, he became the youngest climber to conquer Mount Everest in 2010. Since then, Arjun has faced the world's highest peaks, claiming victory over 8 summits and aiming to conquer all 14 peaks above 8,000 meters. His relentless spirit inspires adventurers everywhere, encouraging us all to set new goals and pursue our dreams. So take a step forward. Who knows what heights you can reach.
Arjun, it's a pleasure having you on Republic TV once again. And remember, we spoke before your the latest expedition, that was Mount Shishapangma. And let us tell our viewers that he has achieved that in October. He has successfully summited his 8,000 meter peak, that was Mount Shishapangma. And all these peaks, have their own sets of challenges. We are going to hear from the man himself, Arjun. What has really attracted you to the mountains?
Thank you so much for having me over here today at Republic Studio. I think it's a pleasure. I still remember coming here 16 years ago when I climbed Everest and sharing a moment with Arnab that time. And it's so nice that I get to meet my classmate today live on television. To viewers who don't know, me and Rakshita were classmates. But talking about high mountains, I think the views have always inspired me to reach the highest peaks. I always like to say the mountains outside gave me an opportunity to climb the mountains within. And I truly feel even all the viewers today who are looking at this show today, they will agree to me. Everybody has a mountain in their lives to climb. It may not be a real mountain, but similar was with me. My mountains were quite literal. Were looking at these peaks from the bottom and then being able to see the world from literally some of the highest points on planet Earth is something which really attracts me to them.
Arjun, at the age of 16, men are usually into exploring the digital world. But you instead choose to explore the mountains.
Right.
So what was your motivation to, pick up this Herculean task at 16 to climb the Mount Everest, in fact, becoming the youngest Indian at that age?
I was always an athlete since my schooling days. I really enjoyed anything related to do with sports. I was a black belt in taekwondo, karate, football, or name the sport, and I used to be on the ground. Very seldom I used to be in the class with all my brains and attention. Most of the time my mind used to be on the ground out there. But I remember I wanted to represent my country in some kind of a sport. So very young, I realized that if I was going to do something, I was not a very great academic student. So I knew it very early on that if I was going to do something, it was going to be with these two hands and these two legs. Fortunately, the mountains selected me and I got an opportunity to go about doing my courses back in 2010. My father is an ex-army officer. He served in the first paras in special forces. And I still remember in 89, it was his time when he trained actually the first batch of NSG also. So I would very rightly say that I think somewhere or the else, it was having an army dad at home did make a huge difference. And that discipline, that josh, that adventurous spirit which was required from within was somewhere or the else inculcated by my father.
That's amazing. So his motivation has actually been his father.
Absolutely. And of course, that's very important. He's really pointing out the truth that, he was never in class studying. I remember that. And he was, in fact, many times reprimanded by the teachers back then that, why is he not there?
Mostly, all the time.
When you turn, where is Arjun? He'll turn back and you see it's just a bag lying there and Arjun is never there. So his attendance was mostly abysmal. And he was, always interested in, going out there. But I know it's, you can't always guess that somebody will actually start getting so serious about, something like mountaineering. It's not cricket.
Right.
We've seen people in schools, all our schools, we've grown up people wanting to be a Sachin Tendulkar, wanting to become now Virat Kohli's and, all sorts of sports. But, mountaineering is a task in itself which it's fraught with so many risks. You risk your, life quite literally. Tell us some of those experiences when you've actually come across those situations, if one or two anecdotes that you can share with us and what really went through your mind.
I, as an athlete, always never had to focus on just my physical self. That was a challenge. I had to develop my lungs, my body, my teenage body for such adverse conditions, but also I had to be very enterprising. Coming from a sport like mountaineering, which is not very sought after, and mostly people, like my parents used to ask me when I was very young, कि क्या हम लोगों को क्या बताएंगे, हमारा लड़का क्या करता है, पहाड़ चढ़ता है, and हम बाबा है, तो there's always this dilemma, but somewhere or the else, I think it made me more enterprising to attract more sponsors, to make the sport what it is. So I did all of that, but obviously there are professional hazards when choosing a sport like mountaineering. You never know what is going to happen next. The margin of error is so low. The oxygen levels are almost 1/3 of what you're breathing out here. Temperatures in a single day can range between -70 to +55 within a tent with the greenhouse effect. So conditions are really, really adverse. Brain cells are dying, stomach muscles are contracting. Things can get very quickly out of hand, right? And nature often does not know the difference between a big mistake or a small mistake. It does not know how to differentiate between rich or poor or where you're coming from or what handicaps you have. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So it's a great equalizer and it only sets perspective. I'm very glad that I got to choose a sport like mountaineering to make a profession out of it. Unlike any other sport, it's a very non-competitive sport. It's not like we have to perform out there for a certain amount of minutes or we are competing against another human being. At the end of the day, we are competing against Mother Nature. And if you look at these 8,000 meter mountains, basically, they would be absolutely true to say that they're the largest features which you'll see rising above planet Earth. If you think Burj Khalifa is big, it's only 1,100 meters. You look at Mount Everest in front of you, it's like almost 9 kilometers straight up into the sky from where you're standing. So it's a completely very different sport, sets a lot of perspectives, helps you like push your boundaries, really helps you explore, as I say, explore the mountains within, not just the mountains outside. So I'm very happy. Obviously, there are a lot of, not all is great in any sport. There are a lot of days out of the 8,000 meter expeditions which I've done so far. I think I've failed mostly. I've only had 8 summits. But a failure is not a failure until you give up. And that has been my spirit, a never give up spirit where I had to befriend failure. And I knew that out of most of the attempts which I'm making on a mountain, I might not be able to always be successful. So those are the challenges, losing your team members. Sometimes you end up losing your professional mountain guides, which are on these mountains, which are your Sherpas. So there are a lot of things which can go wrong. Often mountaineers above 8,000 meters hardly have any proper fingers. All your 10 fingers and all your 10 toes are not there. So I think one of my biggest achievements so far is that I have all my 20 fingers. All my toes are are intact and there are no frostbites, and it gives me a thrill to be able to represent. The motivation comes from having the thrill to represent India, where it used to be absolutely considered, mountaineering used to be considered a white man's sport. But being able to be a trailblazer, being able to lead the mountaineering as a sport from the front itself is a very charging up point, regardless of all the professional drawbacks or hazards.
You spoke about, doing your country proud. When you actually you complete the summit and you are at the peak with that tricolor, we've always seen those pictures of yours and it feels so good to see you there. But when you are there, how does it feel, after all the, that sort of, those difficulties and challenges, you're saying that such, losing your own teammates, losing your, fellow mountaineers and, those harsh climate and, near-death experiences. When you climb the peak with that tricolor in your hand, what goes through your mind?
It always stays very close to me. I have a flag from the Jindal Flag Foundation, and it stays very close to me. I've been using the same national flag which I hoisted on Everest all through my journey of these 8,000 meter peaks, which I have gotten to experience. So the feeling is quite special, I think. And you might call me over-patriotic. People often feel that you're a very proud Indian. Most of our group is always a very international group, so we have people from all different parts of the country. And I'm the guy who's always saying, you have to come to India, you have to come to India. So I'm always inviting people. I'm a very proud Indian, and I carry that Indian flag. Being an army brat, I think having my father from the Indian Army also plays a big role in it. But I think it's a very proud feeling. Somewhere or the else, you do forget sometimes, throughout the journey, an expedition to an 8,000 meter peak can last to about 60 days, 70 days, depending on the weather. So during such long course of exposure, sometimes you do forget your inspiration. And I think the tricolor has obviously always been an instant source of, inspiration, which you can just reach out to. Holding that flag in my hand, even just talking about it right now gives me goosebumps, right? That moment when you reach the summit, and literally you can see the earth bending in front of your eyes. Like you can see for miles and miles and miles till the time the earth itself bends. For the first time in your life, the earth is not round inside your textbook, right? It is literally, you can see the earth's curvature bending in front of you, 8 kilometers above the sky. It's a different feeling. You take out the national flag from close to your heart and you unfurl it with the high speed winds on this little pinnacle which you're standing at. I think it's a moment very difficult to describe in words, but it's a feeling and it's an instant source of inspiration for me always.
Right. Arjun, we learned that in the year 2012, you, while climbing one of the peaks in Tibet, if I'm not wrong, were paralyzed. Would you share more about that incident? Because I'm sure it must be a bad memory for you, but I'm sure it must be an enthralling one as well. It must have taught you a lot.
No, I still remember very clearly that time our foreign minister was Mr. Jaishankar sir. He used to be the ambassador over there, and he really helped us during my rescue efforts. We were climbing a mountain called Mount Cho-Yu. It happens to be the 6th highest mountain in the world, and Tibet being Tibet, there were not a lot of resources, and we reached a certain altitude at Camp 2 and we got paralyzed from the left side of my body. I got paralyzed from the left side of my body. There wasn't a very big team. I was all of 19 years old. I felt like I was Hercules. I had never failed on a 8,000 meter expedition. I first time thought about climbing Everest. I went about doing that. Then I climbed Lhotse in less than 365 days. The same year I climbed Manaslu. So I was on a spree of a lot of success. And then finally, Cho-Yu was there. It humbled me down. It killed me just enough for me to come back to the mountains. So I was paralyzed for about 6 months. It was a very difficult journey to recover out of it. There were hints and traces of the paralysis which remained for a very long time. But I think somewhere or the else, the mission of planting the Indian tricolor, the Indian flag on these 14 summits. There are less than 44 people in the world who have ever been able to climb the 14 8,000ers. And my mission, which is, I called it Project 8K, is with the inspiration and the idea to put the first Indian on top of these 14 8,000 meter peaks. These 14 peaks are basically called the Grand Slam of mountaineering. So even I still remember being in that hospital bed, I still remember talking to myself that no, I can't give up like this, because if I give up now, I will never be able to rewrite my story. So though it was very difficult times for my parents also to be witnessing your own son like this in such a state was very difficult. But even my parents now have made peace with it. They know I'm a little wacko, I'm a little crazy in my head. And I think the young India is like that. We are a little adventurous. We wear risk on our sleeves, and we are not scared of pushing our limits.
Yes, absolutely, Arjun, of course. And remember, his next competition is, I think, Mount Dholagiri. And that is, of course, another part of the Grand Slam. So 6 more to go. And we wish you all the very best. Keep doing us proud. And we get more opportunities to interact with you. And, you share such great and inspirational experiences with all our viewers. Thank you so much, Arjun.
Thank you. Thank you, Rakshita.
Well, right, Rakshita. Thank you very much, Arjun, for speaking with us. Viewers, it's time for us to slip into a short break. But don't go anywhere, because after the break, we'll get you more achievers who have made India proud. Stay tuned.